So welcome everybody. I'm Grimm from AVVI.me. I'm here with my partner and co-host, Karuna Mirchandani. Karuna, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
And we're really excited here today to have a panel of extraordinary humans. And so this is a part of our collective called Exploring Authenticity. So we've assembled a group of amazing women to talk about how they have identified their true passions and the things that are important to them and really woven them into their life, not just as a side gig or a nice to have, but really shifted their lives so that their passion could be alive all the time. And so I'm just going to do a quick introduction of them, and then I'm going to ask each of them to kind of ground us, if you will, in who they are and share a bit about their journey so that what I just said makes sense, but from their perspective. So just really quickly, I'm just thrilled. I wish I could say that I was super strategic in doing this, but I honestly think that we just got amazingly blessed and lucky to have the three of them say yes to this. First is Selves, an amazing mom of four, wife of also a superhero, which we're not going to talk about him today, but I'm sure that adds stress to your life. He's a professional athlete, a retired professional athlete. She has two businesses that have been born of her passions. And so in a few minutes there, I'm going to pass it to Sev. We also have Elmira Lilic. Am I saying that right?
Yes, that's right.
Awesome. A woman who was in the finance part of the world and is massively smart and amazing and gave that up for a life that I think is better as a healer, as an artist, as an art dealer, and really just amazing. And then, of course, some of you might actually know Vasileia Sergakis. I love your name so much. I love Greek names. I listened to some of your YouTubes just so I could make sure I could say it as cool as you. Probably that's not true. Who is a model and a spokesperson and a comedian and a host and a wellness and a beauty expert and a nutrition expert. Like I don't even know how many hours of the day it takes to be you.
You're so sweet.
But I can't wait to hear about it. So like I said, I'm going to shut up and ask each of you to take a few minutes. You don't need to rush. I want to create some energy around authenticity and let you tell your own story. So Sev, I'm going to go back to you and let you tell the Sev story your own way.
Oh God, my Sev story. It's going to be long. It will take you for all night long, but I will do short. So I'm a mom of four between age 20 and age 8. Like Chris told you, yes, my husband is a famous sportsman, retired now. And 10 years ago, we were looking at what to do after his career, and we made our own rum. So yes, I'm a mom of four making alcohol. I know it's very hard, but I do it. And fell in love with it, got into it so deep that I got a shingle, and the shingle make me wake up, and I create the other company, Life, to bring what I needed when I had my shingle to others. So now I'm having the alcohol business and I have the wellness business. So this is a very odd part, but it does work. It does help in everyday's life for me with my 4 kids, but also help people who had the same issue than me long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sev, you have to tell them more about the wellness business, because it's stunning to me that you have someone else who pays for you to basically spend months in the Maldives.
So yeah, so part of it of the wellness is that I need to relax, no stress, and I got a famous husband. So I was like, I'm going to use you. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to use your image to make people's life much better. So we go 12 weeks a year in the Maldives, and I create with my own. One day I was bored. I was like, I need to go get some sun, because I was living in London at that time. And I just sent an email to someone, and I was like, look, what about a football camp with FIFA legend for the kids who stay at the resort? And did you say yes? When do you start? I was like, wait, 1 second. We're all working. I can't come all year long. So we go now every school break. We're in the Maldives doing school football camp for little kids who love football. So I love it. I'm resting, reading my book when my husband is working. This is part of my wellness.
It's the best. You know, you guys, I met Sev in London, and when I was hearing this story for the first time, I'm like, wait, stop. Like, you're living the dream and it's normal for you. And for so many people, what you have done feels like a fantasy, doesn't feel like it was real. So I'm so glad.
Like I say, everybody's like, but how did you come up with that? A very rainy day where I was very feeling down, and I was just like, I need to see the sun and use what I got in my power. So I got a very nice black book, and I was just like, let's do it. Let's send an email, a nice letter to these people. Took me 2 minutes, and it came out with a big positive result. So now it's been it's going to be my 4th Christmas going. So 3 years now. Yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah, bravo to you. And before I switch over to Elmira, can you talk a little bit, because the alcohol thing, the rum it's big. What is your vision for that beyond making
so right now, first, I'm officially launching in Dubai. So to sell a very strong alcohol in the Middle East was a big challenge. So it took us 4 years of work, long meeting to finally be able to say an agricole rum. So it's 100 proof. Is coming to Middle East. So it was a big achievement. Now it's more buying totally the distillery and make a more women product. This is my next challenge. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. It's awesome. Okay, I'm going to come back to you later. We have so much that we can explore with that. I hope that for the rest of the group, you can see that Sev is like a quiet visionary, right? She doesn't show up in an arrogant way at all. And then once you sit with her and dig into it, and I'm always amazed, Sev, for real, like, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, you are doing really awesome things. And you're like, yeah. But for a lot of people, they wouldn't send that email. They wouldn't try to bring hard alcohol into the Middle East. I mean, come on, it's amazing.
I know, but yeah, I think it's a little power I got inside me that I only use it really when I need it. But yeah, you go through loads of things, down and up, but you always have to go up. So yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, you're an inspiration. And so we'll come back to you in a little bit. Elmira, why don't you tell us about your journey?
All right. Hello. I would say my journey really starts from my birthplace. I was born in Sarajevo, Bosnia. My family and we escaped in '92 at the beginning of the war. And throughout my life, I've lived in Slovenia, Germany, Minnesota. The same week I graduated from college, I moved to Los Angeles. In college, I finished degrees in psychology and ethnic studies, wanting to be a therapist, and that's what brought me to California. I worked for many years with people with post-traumatic stress disorders from war and traumatic experiences. With that, I realized it was a heavy load to carry. Then through this whole time, since I was 16, I worked in finance in different places, different fields. Moved to California, worked in tech finance, realized that wasn't my purpose. I always knew it was just a temporary thing, but I almost got caught into it, and depression came through and knocked on my soul and said, this isn't it. I volunteered and mentored kids here in Hollywood for about 3 years, and through that, I found my love for art and opened up my own art gallery. would do pop-up art exhibits around Santa Barbara, Los Angeles. And then that really made me jump and let go of the finance career into art dealing, and that grew into art therapy, which is what I wanted to do in the first place, was to become an art therapist. And just being in school for another 3 years and all the costs that come with it kind of pushed me away from it. So then I just started doing it all on my own, learning everything I needed to know, taking art classes, and really fell deeply into creation and being a full-time artist. And through all these years, 8 years of being in Los Angeles, what's really helped me come to my place is, all the major health practices, starting with yoga, moving into Kundalini, meditation, microdosing with psilocybin. All of these things kind of brought me into alignment with living the life that I am today. So I do women's circles, which have now, as of past few months, become also men and women's circles. Everybody's welcome. And I paint all the time, really diving deeply into that. Yeah, so much to say, but I think that gives you an idea of, everything has kind of come full circle. I'm helping people in my own way. It wasn't the way I imagined as a therapist, but I'm doing it my own way, which feels really good. And my eyes are just opening up more and more to what I can do, to how I can bring people together. I have big visions coming my way that are falling into place so nicely. And really all the other things I did, working at Wells Fargo, at the tech finance, as a model, as a volunteer, as an art dealer, all these things have brought me to where I am today. And I'm using all these tools to really keep creating beautiful things.
Yeah, it's incredible. Leah and Seb, the first time I met Elmira, Karuna and I met was at a retreat we were having in Malibu. And she like floats in, like this fairy princess. And, at a retreat like that, we were in silence for a lot of time. So we're not talking. So my experience of your energy, Elmira, like the whole thing, I'm like, oh, like fairy princess healing, like energy. And then we went to dinner afterwards and I was like, okay, she's a badass. Like this fairy princess, like what's behind the fairy princess is like, wow. Like, and it was great because I think that is also role modeling, right? Like you being able to, like you said, be completely authentic and kind of flow and be this goddess energy, tambourine wielding, beautiful healing angel, and then run incredible, profitable businesses at the same time is part also, I was even saying with Seb, like we don't have to be big and masculine and overt and arrogant about what we're doing, right? Like, and these are examples of it. So yeah, it's amazing. I should have had you bring some pictures of your art. So we'll have to make sure everybody sees, if you don't go online to her online gallery. It's awesome.
Thank you. That touched my little heart.
Good.
I think one of my biggest lessons in life for myself and what I like to share with others is finding balance. I am connected to the spirit realm and I love to go there for creation, for peace, but I also love the hype of the human experience. There's so much that we have access to. I like being productive and I love finance and I love creation. And I think there is that in and out between the two, the balance that really both between masculine and feminine and everything that creates that beautiful life that most of us enjoy living.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's true. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Vasileia Sergakis.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be sharing space with such like-minded humans. My journey for me started, I grew up as a hairy Greek kid in Salt Lake City, Utah with Mormons. So really just like growing up in a very contrasting environment was pushed me young just to kind of explore who I am. Once I graduated college, I got myself into a relationship for 7 years, and I kind of followed his career, put myself, my dreams, my aspirations on the back burner just because I tried to emulate the relationship I saw within my family, my culture, you know, trying to be everything to my man at the time. Then I came across some infidelity on his end a month before we were about to get married. And so it was a really hard, having to step away from that relationship. You know, after 7 years of a broken engagement, I felt like I had lost myself. I didn't know who I was. You know, you just was filling up someone else's cup for so long. So after that experience, I created the show called Table for One because I was just going on a journey of like, how do I become whole again? How do I learn who I actually am aside from, you know, being a partner and all these things, getting back to just me, which just being raw, I was just in my parents' basement shooting YouTube videos, and it kind of really helped launch my career. It brought me to LA, and just from, you know, being able to be vulnerable, I started because I never wanted anyone else to feel the way I felt or to ever experience anything that I had experienced. I felt like when I went through that time, I didn't have someone I could look up to that had like just gone through some craziness and just made it out. I just wanted to make sure that I could just be a voice in that realm for somebody else. And so, yeah, it brought me to LA. And from being out here, it's blessed me with the opportunities of hosting things like the Golden Globes, the Oscars. I'm the Mind and Body host for BeautyCon. I'm right now executive producing and hosting like my own travel show at like a network level. It's been a wild journey. I'm like so excited how things are unfolding. But my big thing from authenticity is just like still I rise in life. Like we're always going to go through things, we don't get out unscathed. And so just to realize like being your truest self and really learning, like I think that's the greatest love story. And so it's just, yeah. So I hope that's my mission now, just to create heaven on earth, to make sure people know themselves inside and out and just have a good time, you know? So.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's Vasileia is a great role model for your daughters, for your son too, but just, I mean, all out. I was just watching some of the stuff and I was like, you go, like you are not afraid to be you. And I love that the world has embraced that. You know what I mean? Because I think some of it, and I want all three of you, maybe I'm going not in order from the email I sent to you guys, but you know, let's talk about why it's hard, right? Like what's the resistance on the inside and the outside, you know, to being your whole self? Leah, why don't you start us there and then we can just go back the other direction.
This is funny because this crosses my mind all the time. You know, growing up in a conservative environment and growing up Greek like I was, I felt like I couldn't be my full self. I was supposed to be like this proper, classy, articulate woman, which I still am, but I have such a fun side. I have like a comedic side. So like, it was almost kind of forbidden for me in a lot of ways. And so now like being able to like lean into it and like going there has been really fun. But I honestly, this is something that comes across my mind all the time is why we don't do it. And I think sometimes we self-sabotage and we hold ourselves back from our own like inner greatness, because a lot of times those things that we don't want to lean into about ourselves are those same things that set you free to like everything you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of self-sabotaging. That's what I mean. inner resistance, right? Like us talking ourselves out of it, for sure. Elmira, what about you? What's the resistance that you feel to you being
Gosh,
whole?
if I think back on like all the leaps I took that created the most change, I think it's complacency and comfortability. You know, once you have that career, that family that's so comfortable and easy, but you know something isn't right in your heart, it's that's the part, you know. Do you choose to keep a job that pays you every 2 weeks with health insurance and benefits, or do you go for something bigger? You know, are you with a partner that's fine, or you know, like easy to be around, or do you go for love? Do you go for, you know, something more challenging? So I think for me, oftentimes it was that, you know, being comfortable, being complacent. And I also come from, you know, a traditional, not so, my family's Muslim. So, you know, one thing that we try to keep is our culture, tried to keep in all the years and places we've traveled, was our culture and our religion. And, you know, there were these old programs that were so strong, and that was the only thing that kind of, that's all we had left. So me breaking that was another leap of leaving the family before marriage and leaving that tight family unit that's been, you know, tried to stay together for so long, and here I just go leaving them. So there's these big leaps of leaving comfortability.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's it feels like a simple concept, but it's complicated, right? Like
Yeah, and I think each of us, our life stories and everything that we've gone through sets us up for that, you know, it's that choice.
mhm.
So everyone has that strength. And
Yeah. Deb, what about you? What's the resistance for you? I mean, I honestly don't know how you have enough hours in the day. Having
Well, I will say, like I was listening to the girl, I always say I was a gypsy. So since I'm little, I always say I'm a gypsy. I left my house when I was 16 for an amazing adventure to move to the state on my own. And follow that, came back to France and met my husband. And now we are moved 14 times, 14 different countries in the world with 4 kids. And for me, it's like, if you're not happy, move. If you're not feeling your balance, just change. I have something in myself. I always say, I know I'm not unique. There's loads of people like me, but I know I'm very strong with this. If my husband said tomorrow we move, I will move with no hesitation. But I know I have to be happy and settle in 1 week. If it doesn't happen, then I have to move on. So I
wow.
would say, believe your gut, follow your heart, and it will happen.
Mhm. Eugenie, I see your hand there raised, but I just want to say one thing. Seb, I have always imagined you from the first time I met you and Michael, like I didn't picture you as the normal footballer's girlfriend. Like I pictured you as like powerful, and I don't know what I thought. I think I have stories in my head, but from the time I met you guys, I was like, oh yeah, she's got this. Like she wasn't the girl just following him around.
Yeah, that's for sure.
For sure not. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Eugenie, go for it.
Sorry, yeah, I'm loving this so much, and please forgive, I'm in a car bed in a room that is 50s themed, so my background is quite unique and interesting, calling in from the morning after a wedding. But yeah, this is like lighting me up because I'm seeing these threads like from all of you when you introduced your stories. It was, I just did it, you know, like each of you, like I hit a wall and I made a choice. And that, like the way you're saying it, because you've created, sounds like, you've created this experience in your life where like, of course you just do it. You just start the business and you'll figure it out. You just like say, we want to make rum. Yeah, we want to sell it in Dubai. We're going to figure it out. Leah, you're like, well, I hit this wall. I have this breakup. I start a YouTube channel. I start a show. Like Elmira, like I'm gonna, like, it's just, and I love that empowerment. And I'm wondering, like, Chris asked about hesitations, right? So you all had to have hesitations there. But I'm also wondering, like, it's funny because I feel like, Sev, you kind of said it, like, it's just something in me, I guess. Like, I'm just going to go do it. But I'm wondering, we're recording this, if there's any sort of like tidbit you can say, because there's so many people who go through breakups, Leah, and don't have it. They may think of starting a show, but they don't do it. They don't make that choice. There are so many people who think of starting their own companies or wellness retreats, and they just, like, as Elmira said, they stay in comfortability. Is there any sort of like tip or thing that happens that you've seen in each of those leaps that you've taken that you've said, okay, here's the hesitation, or maybe Seth, maybe you don't have hesitation.
No, I do. No, don't worry, I do.
If there's any hesitation, then is there a mantra? Is there a thing you remind yourself? Is there something at each leap that you go, okay, here we go?
Yeah, I will say yes. There's always you always hit a wall, any business you will do, and even if it's personal life or business life, for me, but I always go, I have to go up. I got 4 kids and my life is not over. So I go, let's do it. Even if sometimes it's just a little thing I'm going to read online or a little phone call or something I see, I go, here, my glimpse, I'm going. This is my sparkle. I will do it. And then, I have someone around me. She doesn't work for me anymore, but my PA was my mentor. She was very young compared to me. She could have been my daughter. She was like, I wish I had a mom like you. And I was like, no, don't say that. It's not like you have your mom. And she was like, no, I should follow your step. I was like, you're pushing me. You don't understand that you're giving me this power to move forward. She was like, no, you're moving me forward. I was like, so it's a mutual help, I would say. You have to find the right person around you to help grow. This is my point.
Yeah, great.
I can share a little bit on that too. For me, since I moved to LA or even back home, everything I've done has kind of been on my own. And I would say for me, I like to also tell people, like, it doesn't always have to be a big jump. Like, I worked in finance and had an art gallery online until I could really let that go. Or anything, I do it in like little steps, and I know that the right time will come along, for me, when I can make that switch. I think a lot of people I speak to, they have the career or job, but they want to work in wellness, or they haven't figured out what it is they're even passionate about or love. So I always say, just go volunteer. Commit yourself 1 day a week to volunteer as many hours as you can for something that you just love. Animals, kids, plants, whatever it is. And take that slow transition into discovering yourself, into building a network, into really feeling what you want to do. And over time, I think the vision becomes clear. So for me, something that even to this day, things that I want to work out, I have to humble myself and ground myself to the knowing of everything happens in right timing. And I have to trust that. And things, even my own physical or emotional, spiritual state of mind needs to meet that goal, that vision. So I'd say, everything happens in time. It's water your garden daily for whatever it is you want.
So true. I do a lot of the same things. For me, my biggest, especially like out of the breakup, was finding and like remembering my why. And I would recommend that to anyone that's listening to this. I come from immigrants. My grandfather left his village at 17 because they were starving, to come to the US to, like, send money back to Greece, but also give me a chance, a future at having a life. So it's like when I wanted to like roll over and die, I'm like, he didn't just come this far for me just to like Netflix and chill and give up. You know what I mean? Like I have to keep things pushing and going just from like a legacy standpoint. So I always advocate for people just like find something that, that pulls on you. It may not be for you, but for someone else, or something that will get you up and going. Like Elmira said, a step is a step too, like celebrating those. Like you don't have to have the company tomorrow or the show tomorrow. It's like do and can control like what you can in the moment, and just, go for that. And then I'm also big on, I think it's something that's not really talked about as it should be, is like just finding a piece of joy every day. Something that, like, especially for me, when I connected back to like my inner child of like, I'm obsessed with animals. So if I'm feeling stressed or in a low, like just go play with animals. And a lot of times us doing these practices that used to give us so much happiness back in the day puts you in such a different moment in your now. That's what I would say.
Yeah, as all of you were talking, Eugenie, that was such a great question. And like, I think about, it's easy for, I think, all of us to talk about this, but sometimes in coaching, and I've been coaching people for a long time, 25 years or more. And I find that what happens is that people think they're afraid, right, to take a leap if in fact what they want to do or what they want to be is super different than where they are, right? So people get afraid of that. Like, oh my God, like in my head, it looks and feels big. But like you're saying, Leah, it's important. And I think you've all said it in some way. You actually just have to incrementally do it. Like Seb said, put people around you who are going to encourage it, who are going to tolerate it, who are going to encourage it, right? I just want to say something that's really interesting, because as Seb, you were talking about having a person working with you, we iterated on AVVI for a very long time. In fact, AVVI started as a custom lingerie and cashmere company that was born out of Karuna and I believing, after lots of experiences, but of course her family is from India and Kuwait, and they are used to tailored custom things. And every time I would spend time with them, specifically at one of her family's weddings that I had the privilege of going to with her, that I was like, wait, we don't do that here. Why don't we do that? And so we started that business. But what we learned was how many women, in the process of trying to make custom lingerie and cashmere, all of their insecurities came out. And so all of a sudden we found ourselves coaching people in that context and realized, wait, we're not in the lingerie cashmere business. We're in the coaching women business. And we've always been in that business. Why are we trying to make this maybe something different? And it was born there. But us deciding that was scary. Completely throwing away all the resources it took to originally build that, starting over. What are people in corporate going to think of us? I don't know, Karuna, if you want to add, but I think that it's important for all of us to realize, like, what you're saying is important. You don't do it in big leaps. You actually do it in little conversations or little incremental. And maybe that chips away at the fear. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great point, Chris, because this is a great segue to a question I wanted to ask the ladies. Chris mentioned throwing away, or actually afraid that what corporate would think. I've spent 20 years in corporate, in a corporate career, kind of protecting my image and reputation. So the fear, you guys talk about just doing it, and Seb, you mentioned having people around you, but I'm curious, as each of you kind of went on your journey and did your thing, were any of you surprised about how accepted you were, or how people thought the things that you were doing were actually just cool? And so were you surprised at the lack of judgment because, that I feel like people are always afraid, right? And because they're afraid of being judged, and what do people think of me? And certainly I think of that, right? Or I did think of that. So I'm curious, did any of you or were any of you surprised when people were like, oh my God, that's the best thing ever? And I don't know what you were worried about. I'm just curious.
Well, I will start then. For me, it's hilarious. Loads of people think I'm crazy because they're like, do you see you got 4 kids? You're going to do an alcohol business, then you're doing that, and you're moving every 2 years in 1 or 2 days. And like, I mean, I don't have time to tell you, but if you listen to my life in the last 20 years, you were like, what? You went where? It's like, it doesn't stop. It's a non-stop story. And people think I'm crazy, but I've never let them get into me, because yes, it's not my choice. We're following my husband's career, so we made it like that. And it's not, I don't take time to think, I just go and make it happen. But loads of people are telling me, you're so crazy, what are you doing? But it doesn't go into me, because I'm like, listen, I have a life, I have a family, and I need to run my family, so I go through it.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, I always have like a philosophy of don't get advice from somebody you wouldn't want to switch lives with. And in a way, like a lot of times these people that are highly critical are the ones that would just love to be doing what you're doing, or even have the strength to go at certain things. So you always have to you have to tread lightly as to where criticism is coming from. But the shocking part, to answer your question, for me, my biggest was my dad. My dad always had like the tough love environment growing up. Like I just wanted to always hear that he was proud of me, but he's always, I bring home straight A's and be like, hey, next month, let's see what next month looks like. It wasn't like, proud of you, good job. Until once I came to LA and was like really in my career, there was a moment that I was like doubting it. And I kind of just vocalized it to him. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. I fully believe in you. Like, you need to keep going at it. Where before I moved to LA, he was trying to encourage me to go back to law school. So it's like, for him to be like, nope, I see what you're doing, keep going. It was an interesting moment when it's like, a lot of times our parents are the ones we want approval from the most, So to get that when you're being authentic is very rewarding.
I'd say people are maybe still getting used to my shifts and my things that I'm stepping into. With like family and relatives and friends and maybe even myself, I just know that I'm doing what's authentic and what feels good to me. I also get a lot of stories and comments from people that have been watching my life for years, thanks to social media, aunties, friends of aunties, and friends from elementary school in Germany. Like, I think you never know, as much as like criticism might come your way, there's also people that we inspire that we have no idea. So me becoming a painter after, going to school for 6 years and working in finance for 9 years, it was a shock for my mom the most. And moving to LA, and everybody's like, well, when can you settle down? When can you like be structured? And for me, it is all structure, but in my own way. And I think I'll keep discovering myself until forever. And I'll always be creating new things and shifting and changing. Whether it impresses somebody or shocks them or not is not of interest to me. I'm really focused on being of service to the world, and excited to see what develops, and I hope to touch more people positively, and even if I trigger them, good for them. Because I'm poking at something that they themselves want, but are maybe not sure if they can do it or not. So I hope that we talk more about that too in life, like why do I make you mad that I have a YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's something about when we're in our like fullest, whether it's, you know, family, business, partnerships, people might pick at that because they think you've gotten it easy, not knowing your history. And I think that as we're doing now, it's more talked about, that it's not just what's on the surface. So much came to coming to this place. And us three and all of us that are on here are still blooming and figuring things out.
It's so good what you were saying. And I was saying to someone the other day, a friend of ours is, she manages alcohol and drug recovery for high net worth people, lots of athletes actually, and actors and singers, etc. So people who would be in the news if other people knew, and sometimes they do that they're having a really ugly bad moment. And she does this for a living. But we were talking, and I said, you know, I feel like what's happened, there's a whole bunch of reasons for this, but now all of a sudden, like Elmira, what you just said, we could actually say out loud, people are adopting trauma language. Like the internet has made like therapy's normal, coaching is normal. So the conversation you just said, you could say out loud. I think now in most places, maybe you can't do it with 60 and 70-year-old men. I don't know. It depends on the culture you're in, but that you could actually say to someone, why is what I'm doing triggering you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's become normalized to actually use some of those words. So I think maybe you're right. Like we've turned a corner where being more authentic, being weird, my daughter would say, like being weird's okay. And I'm like, okay. Maybe we're in a new world where being authentic is going to become more normal. And in 5 years from now, this panel won't even make sense to people.
Mm.
Like, why did you have to do a whole program on exploring authenticity? Like, what were you guys doing before?
That'd be a dream.
Well, I think we're creating it, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're on mute.
I was just going to say, I think that's what we're doing. We're creating that space for this, for that to become, we're working it out of business, right? That's the goal with any coach or therapist, is that you work yourself out of business if your heart's in the right place, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to talk on something that Elmira said. I'd like to ask each of you. Karuna, that was a fantastic question, asking about that. And I feel like all of us have that version of like who we were shocked wasn't shocked, or who we were shocked even were kind of following our journey. As Elmira said, we're always inspiring people that we don't even know. And I think that's where this is really important, this piece of like authenticity and being open about that, like exploring your authenticity, following your authentic path, your gut, whatever, is hard. I think that's where we really inspire those people, right? Because when I think there's a difference between admiration and inspiration. And when someone is perceiving you as having it all, oh, look how easy your life is. There might be admiration, or but they might not feel inspired to go on that journey because it seems unattainable, right? However, I think when we do like share the steps that we're taking and the hindrances and then it inspires them, like, oh, they took that small step. I didn't realize it looked like a big leap, but it was just a small step. And so I guess I'm wondering, I'd love to hear stories of, wow, when you realize like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that small choice I made inspired someone, changed their life, because I'm sure the three of you have those experiences, whether it was someone who's working for you or a stranger or what have you, has reached out and made you like realize, oh, wow, people are watching. This matters. Me sharing my story matters.
I've had a lot of those experiences. I've lived in a handful of countries, and I think people have been my role models, and they've known it without even it needing to be expressed, and somehow they've followed my story. And I've had people make donations in my name to nonprofits. I've received letters. you know, just recently in Bosnia, like I said, Auntie's sister says she's been watching my story all this time and she's working through cancer, and you know, she says I'm an inspiration to her. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, for a grown woman in her, you know, 50s, 60s, I'm not sure, but to say something like that, it kind of shakes you. It shakes you, but also we got to watch our egos in this. You know, what are we feeding? Why do we need that validation? That brings us back to authenticity. Are you doing it for validation? Are you doing it for that pat on the back, or are you doing it because it's truly your path and what you love? And so that's what I'm discovering over the years too. Just really staying grounded and authentic to why I'm doing things, not because of reaching a certain success or getting validation from my parents, which was a big one. Showing them that I can make it, showing them that I can, you know, get a lot of money for what I do. Like, forget about it. That's, you know, but I do have an ego just like all of us. And it feels good when people tell you that you've made an impact on them. It feels good when people have a release and that aha moment. If I can stand by people's side as they go through their transition, I think we all want everyone to be happier. And we can feel it. We can see it when people are in a cloud, you know, and we've been there and we recognize it because that's us. So yeah, that's what I gotta say.
I will say for me, it's the people who come to me, it's more moms that are impressed that I got 4 kids and I run 2 business and I'm here at school, pick up, drop off, every activity, and loads of mom always come, how do you do? I wish I could do it like you. And I go, just lay back, chill out. It will happen. Just everything will come. It's how it's supposed to be. Your life is already done. You just follow the line. So just don't panic. It will make you will be like me. Don't, because what I'm right now I'm going through is I have 3 older girls and I've surprised a little boy. So I'm meeting, they all think it's my only child, but they don't understand I got 3 other older. So all the mom, it's their first child I'm meeting, and they're like, how do you do? For me, I'm like trying to tell them, just go with the flow, no stress, do what you have to do for life, for work, for business, it will go. And so for me, it's like, wow, they're really seeing me as a superpower woman, but I'm not. I'm a normal mom. I'm a normal person. I just go with the flow. That's what I will say for me.
That's not normal, by the way, but I'm glad it's normal. That's why you're here.
Yeah, mine very similar. A lot of it, you know, is just getting responses like from, you know, social media, or just like, you know, anytime I go home to my hometown, like just hearing from people, it's very sweet, because sometimes, you know, it's interesting when you're trailblazing, because like we realize you're blazing your own path, right? But sometimes like even us doing that, we have our own moments of like, am I doing the right thing? You know, so it is very like a symbiotic relationship, and sweet when you do hear from people that like what you're doing is helping and you're not just crazy and throwing spaghetti at the wall. So I just say I've been like blessed just with like a lot of just beautiful feedback. And then one surprising thing for men, or for me, is I get a lot of men writing me, not like inappropriate things that I, you know, you'd expect on social media. I get a lot like asking for advice. And I think, you know, it's just us as, you know, women opening up that space. It allows for everybody to heal and everyone to be encouraged. You know, it's like, it's a very universal concept.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Did you have something, Eugenie, that you wanted to say? I know you put it in the chat.
No, I was just saying to Sev, I think that you're giving them the secret. It's just hard for people to unwrap that secret, that going with the flow is the superpower. Like it's a superpower to be able to go with the flow, and you're telling them that's it. You can do it. too.
I've no choice.
So-
It's very
No choice.
true.
It is.
Well, it's almost like I said to someone in coaching the other day, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? Dorothy had the ruby slippers on the whole time. So it's true, but it's not normal. It's interesting, right? How it's not necessarily normal thinking until it is.
Yeah.
Well, for sure that. I know we have about 10 more minutes left. Sherry or Rebecca or Heather, do you guys have any questions? I have a last one, but I just wanted to make space just in case any of you wanted to ask a question.
I don't have a question, but just to say that I feel like I'm in good company. I had 4 startups in my early 30s, so I completely can relate to this conversation. It's been so fun. And I just was like water over rocks. I was just going for it. I had no hesitation. I knew the timing was right, and boom. There was no fear once I was lined up with everything. So it's really fun to be around you women and see what you're doing and in this time and place. Thank you for everything.
I'm glad you're with us, Sherry.
Thank you. Me too.
Really, really great. Then I'm going to ask my last one. Sev, I'm going to start with you because you have a little bit different of a context, and I'm interested, and I have the luxury of knowing one of your children, who I'm watching now in the 2nd year emerge as her own version of Super Evie. What do you tell your kids, but in particular your daughters, about being themselves and going into the world? I would love to know that.
So Evie is my oldest, as you understand. She's 20, and when she was 6, I met this teacher, and that teacher told me off because he said, "You got to let these kids grow up." I was like, "I have moved. I'm a foreigner. What are you on about?" He was like, "They don't need you. These kids don't need you. You need to let them grow. So don't help them with school. Let them grow." So since that day, since that 6 years old little girl, these poor other 3 children have no mom when it comes to school. I don't know what they're studying. I don't open their book. I don't ask them anything. I told them they're growing for themselves. So that's one point that a lot of people think it's hilarious, especially teacher. When I go parents' evening, the parents are like, "So are you worried?" I was like, "No, I just want to know, does my children smile in class?" And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, do my kids smile in class? Are they happy for you?" Yeah. So I say, I don't care about the homework or the study. It's their life. It's not mine. If they need help, I'm always here for them because I'm here. I make sure I'm home for after school until dinner, because after dinner, I have to go most of the time for the run. But then I always say, look, follow your path, follow your passion. As long as you're happy, that is it. You will always be happy. It can be something that we don't think it's right for you, but if you're happy, you're happy. So my kids are very, very independent on everything they do, especially they've moved every 2 years. They've seen so many around the world, and they are very glued to each other. We are very family, all love together because we move so much. They always meet new people, but we are here for them. But I always say, grow for yourself, but I will always be proud of what they do.
Mm-hmm. So that's so beautiful. And everybody, I really was hoping that was actually better than I even thought what you were going to say. But that same night I was telling you, I met Sev for real in London. We had met in Portland at an event, but didn't really get to talk to each other. And then in London, and I learned that Evie had stayed in the US when you moved to Dubai. And
Yeah.
in high school, her parents moved to Dubai, her whole family.
And it was a wish. She said, "Please, can I stay?" And I was like, "You're 16, I've done the same. You know what? If it's your wish, do." So she stayed and graduated and stayed on her own in the States, and then moved back with us to come to uni because we live across the street of uni. And she was like, "Oh," I was like, "Well, it's up to you." And yeah, very cool. She loved it. She had a blast. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely made her who she is. Yeah, Sherry gave it thumbs up for sure. I've said this to you. I wish she was with us, so hopefully she'll watch this at some point. But it shows, like I was saying, Evie, you guys has been, she's not shy to tell us you can't say this on your website, or this is so American, it's terrible, like, do it. And so it's lovely.
We have a phrase in the house. It's excuse my French, because we are French. And we say, excuse my French, but we got to tell you. And I always told the truth. Like the kids will say, Mom, what do you think? I'm like, absolutely not. It's not working. Or sometimes they go, are we for real moving? And I'm like, yeah, we are moving again. And then we settle somewhere and I say, so yeah, it's okay, Mom. So, they have to grow. They have to learn by themselves which way they want to take.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Leah and Elmira, so other advice for, as I had mentioned to you, we have a lot of members in our collective, and I know we are formless also with Rebecca and Marina, also have people who are, they're in transition, they're thinking about making change, they might be seeking with us coaching to help them get through this. Any other advice that you want to give them, and encouragement to help them get through whatever blocks are there?
My biggest thing is burn your boats. There were the biggest leaps of my life that I've made. I've literally had to just, like, when it came from transitioning from a stable job to working in full-time entertainment as a host, so like we have these little golden handcuffs is what I like to call it. You have these comfortabilities and these 9-to-5s, these consistent paychecks, but you're not really fulfilling that truth that's within yourself. And kind of piggybacking on the previous answer about uniqueness and stuff, we all have different fingertips, different set of eyes, different walks. So it's if something's inside of you, you have to honor that, because that is your uniqueness that you're supposed to bring to the world, or wouldn't be there. So sometimes it's just really just allowing people to have the space that you're not crazy. It's yours to take and to go after and to feel that way. And it's you have to honor it, or the universe will push you. You will get, it's so funny. We get these little nudges that we're supposed to be doing something, and we go, okay, ignore it until we get fired from the job, or, broken engagement or whatever. We have these little inclinations of oh, we should start shifting, so that's my answer.
Yeah, the 2x4 moment, Leah. That's
I'm
what I call
sorry?
it. The 2x4 moment. You get knocked over the head by the universe.
I'm like, can I get a Post-it note? They're like, no.
Well,
No, we tried
earlier.
Yeah, we tried. You didn't see it. You were moving too fast. You didn't see the
That's
note.
exactly right.
That's so awesome. Elmira, what do you got for us?
I just, a couple of days ago, I had a really big download, and it's relating to COVID too. I think humanity has just gone through a really big shift as a whole. Many people have illnesses that are fatal, that, give them that death scare. And in this case, I think as a collective, the whole world has gone through that death scare. And really what that brought out for me and understanding humanity is that we came so close to death in one way or another, whether you got the virus or not. You had that fear in you of my life might be over. I might not be with my family anymore. What is my life? What is my career? Who am I? All these things were surfaced within these last 2 years. Don't let that go. Whether things have happened to you in your life or not, utilize the strength of these realizations of knowing who you are, of knowing what you want in life, and this energy, this collective energy that's in this world right now of hope, of health, of understanding more of what life is about. Come back to the reminder of you only have one life to live. You only have one body. Use everything in you to follow your path, what sparks you, what brings you joy, to really live the best life that you can. Whether you come back in another lifetime or not, who really knows? We have ideas, but you really don't know. So do what you want, be who you want to be, live your life the most authentic and loving way that you can. people will be there to support you because you're, as humanity is now at a different place, we all always have a choice on a daily basis of how we live, how we behave, what we do, who's around us. Use these choices to make a life that you are happy with. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else want to say anything else? There's so much gold here. I hate to end, but I know that we need to do that. And I just appreciate all of you so much. I feel like regardless of whether anybody else watches this recording or not, I feel like I have just received a whole bunch of gifts. So thank you. Rebecca, yeah, thank you. Great. Sherry, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, really great. Heather, great, great. Okay, so Sev, we're gonna send you to bed, and
Yes.
everyone else, we're gonna send you into somewhere into your Sunday. Yeah, I just want to say thanks.